Hello and welcome to another Let's Play. Me, GamerWolfSix of the Smoke Room. Before we start, if you're interested in playing this game, you can get it for free on itch.io. But if you want to support the people that make this game and or get the newest version earlier, you can go to their Patreon, where it's $3 a month. So, on the last Let's Play, we left Avery's parents' place, walked through the forests, came across this cabin which had a different Kit Fox in it. Different from the one we met like 2 episodes ago, who seemed to be a bit, crazy. So he ran out of the place and didn't tell anyone about it because reasons. Don't know if it's an actual crazy person or if it's, forced thingamajigger, or if it's somebody driven crazy by general Echo stuff, because, if you've watched me play the game Echo, then you know that people can be driven temporarily crazy by something. Because don't know yet. Anyways, we're still going through the forest, trying to get to the settlement. Let me reset my face. Start. It's around noon when we slow down and take a break. God and Manaba packed us some bread, but it's hardly enough to share amongst the 7 of us. So we eat most of it on foot. Stomachs growling pretty bad, though supplies can't come fast enough. How are we holding up? Not too bad, if I say so myself. Avery taps his chin, taps a thin pair of lines on the map. I guess they're the path we're on now. What I guess our supplies are marked by the large circle. Paths seem to be lined up again. Should reach the supplies any moment now. See, I know how to read a map just fine. I never said you couldn't. You did, multiple times. But if we ended up going the right way, then what's with that house? Cliff shrugs. Most likely just abandoned by the previous owner. You saw what a terrible state it was in. But Avery said it wasn't supposed to be there. He may have just missed it before. It was quite well hidden amongst the trees and bushes. I'm not entirely sure what it was. All I know is that it gives me a bad feeling. Much like the smell that's been hanging in the air these past few minutes. I'd like to actually go back and do that episode again. Well, on my own time, but also just stay outside and see what happens. It's getting to the point where I have to pinch my nose. What the hell is that? Or is that? It smells like a sewer. That's putting it mildly. Make shit smell like Cliff's perfume. It's a carcass. As around the corner, I hear flies buzz louder and louder. Wait, a carcass must mean we're close. Jeb's eyes go wide, and his breathing speeds up. He runs ahead of us to take a look at the clearing, then stops. His chest rises and falls rapidly. No. He steps back, and his legs give way. He falls. Jebediah! The elk rushes over to the collapsed horse, putting his large hand under his head. He, too, looks into the clearing. Shit. What's wrong? He tips his muzzle to the clearing, and we all gather around him to look at our old campsite. Or what's left of it. Fuck. It's unnatural. I thought what had happened in the house would be the most off-putting thing we experienced today. The tents have collapsed. The wagon is busted beyond repair. Or, hell, recognition. Papers are strewn all over the forest floor. I think I could see what remains of Cliff's satchel. It'd been torn to ribbons, just like the rest. At the center of it all sits the donkey's corpse, twisted and mangled to the point It doesn't even resemble one anymore. The head is missing, and what's left of the rest is being feasted upon by bugs. Next to me, Murdoch's unusual smug grin completely disappears from his face. He holds a paw to his muzzle. I can hear him retch. I'm getting close to it myself. I don't think this was done by any sort of creature hunting to survive. It left most of the body. That's what Jeb said before. And took the head as a trophy. The weasel's expression is grim, unfocused. Is Jebediah going to be okay? Out cold. Shock, most likely. He'll come around in a few. Don't blame him. Seeing something like this, it can do things to the body just as well as the mind. Terrible things. Tell me about it. I pinched my nose shut. Doesn't help. The only thing I can do is try not to look. You seem to be doing okay. He shakes his head. This is unlike anything I've seen in person before. Like ritualistic slaughter. Murdoch wipes his muzzle with the back of his paw. I haven't seen him this rattled before. Let's be quick about this. I'd rather not be here any longer than I have to. I think that goes for all of us. I glance at Cliff. The weasel's still staring straight ahead. His eyes are empty. I put a paw on his back. Cliff? He jumps. Yes? Isha, Murdoch, Sam, and I are going to see what supplies we can carry. Right. What do we do about... His eyes shift to the donkey. We'll leave it be. No. Jebediah jolts awake, wheezing, coughing. Avery rolls him onto his side. I want to bury her, Ave. His voice is weak. Avery frowns. Jeb, I don't think it's safe to... You don't get it all, do you? He forces himself into a sitting position. I have to do good by her. I promised him I'd take care of her, so I will. Promised who? He mentioned this person before. I can tell that this was more about whoever he was than the donkeys. Jebediah ignores me, but looks out onto the clearing once more. He fixes his hat. There's shovels in the wagon. I'll help. He gives me the same look he gave me when we were fixing the wagon just the other day. Genuine surprise. Thank you, Sam. It might be the first time he's called me by my name. Can you stand? Yeah, I'll be right as rain in a little while. He grabs Avery's hand and raises to his feet with a grunt. Be careful, you hear? I'll keep an eye on him. I'll check the food. Jebediah gives me an expected look as he passes. I'll be with you in a second. Right. He heads into the clearing too. What are you going to do, Cliff? I don't know. I shall gather what I can of my research, probably. What's left of it. Even that's going to be hard. Half the pages I see on the ground are either completely torn or smudged beyond recognition with mud or sand. I can help you after we dig. The weasel lightens up. You will? Of course. Splendid. If you're helping me, I'm sure we'll finish in no time at all. But first, he looks at Jebediah, who's clearing the bugs off the carcass. I'd like to pay my respects. Not for the farm animal, but for Jebediah. I wipe the sweat from my brow. I've done some digging during my time in the mines, but that experience isn't making it any easier. We found some more shovels among the remains of the wagon, and we're up to our necks in dirt about now. Even Cliff is helping us dig. Haven't heard him complain yet, surprisingly. Maybe all that work with Madonna did him some good. Reckon this is deep enough? We're getting there. How are you holding up? I'm fine. More worried about you at this point. I've been wondering something. Yeah? You told Avery you promised him you'd take care of He clears his throat. That you'd take care of Doris. Who is the man you're referring to? That's what I've been asking for days. Jebediah leans on the shovel. It's a long story. We'll be digging for some time yet. Hell. He scratches the back of his head. I can tell you, I suppose. Doris wasn't mine to begin with. She was my parents'. I didn't know you were married. Wait. To my partners. I swear I can read. She was my partners. I was 16. After Avery left for Echo, there was no one on the ranch who really got me. He was the only friend I had. Then my parents hired a new farmhand, just a little older than I was at the time. He was Maseta. He stopped sticking to wipe his eyes. We got on like a house on fire. I wrote these stories, see? And he would always read them, tell me what he thought of them. One of those stories, it was about him. I didn't mean for him to find it, but he did. Told me he'd been feeling the same way. That's how he started. That's sweet. Jebediah smiles. I couldn't let my parents find out, so I made a plan to run for it and make a living somewhere else. Maybe get a book published. One night, we went for it, got all the way to Echo, and bought ourselves 2 donkeys and an old wagon with the money we'd made working at the ranch. I couldn't find anyone to publish my books, so until I could, we'd make money as guides to and from the settlement. Things were good for a while. Then he got sick, real sick. He was losing weight fast, coughing, running high fevers. Eventually, he lost so much there wasn't any of him left. What was it? Avery said it was consumption. We couldn't treat it at the time. He sighs. Terrible disease. So sorry. I could only promise him that I'd take care of him as best I could. They were the only things we had. The only things that were really ours. But I was just a scared kid. I could barely take care of myself. So, I drank instead. I couldn't sell any books, and I couldn't protect our investment. That was the last thing we did together before he left me forever. And now, Doris is dead, and who knows where Daisy could be. I'm sorry, I dragged you into this. You paid him for his service, Cliff. Don't apologize. It's not like you brought that beast here. He thrusts the shovel into the ground with a grunt. I think we're done. He turns, climbing out of the open grave. After helping Cliff out, I follow suit. Jebediah already got Doris wrapped in the remains of his own tent. I can feel my eyes start to water as he drags her near. Don't know if it's emotional exhaustion or the smell. Cliff clasps his paws together. His eyes are closed, and he's murmuring softly to himself, praying. Avery joined us, pack in hand. Looks like a fine resting place. It'll have to do. He swallows. How are the supplies? We managed to salvage a lot of them. Should be more than enough to reach the settlement, at the very least. He helps Jebediah lift Doris up. Together, they lower her into the grave as gently as possible. Jebediah takes off his hat. His legs buckle a little, and for a moment, I'm scared he's going to faint again. Avery notices and takes Jebediah's hand in his. The horse inhales through his nostrils. He leans on Avery's shoulder. Now wraps an arm around him, muffling the sobs that ring out through the camp. The trail gives us little trouble after the stop at the camp. Starting to think that what Murdoch said might have been true. But the Force wanted to show us things, whether we wanted to or not. Things I'm not sure I'll ever be able to understand. Doesn't keep me from wondering. And I'm sure the rest is mulling it over too. By the time we finally got to the outskirts of the forest, we're as tired as we were yesterday morning. Tired, but relieved. I never want to see this forest again, once this is all over. Almost dark out. Where are we camping? Usually stop around here, but I'm not willing to risk that right now. The horse points at the map in his hand. We'll have to walk past sundown for a little while, but there's a spot a ways out of the forest that should be safe. It's a small outpost, if you can even call it that. I don't know if we can get any supplies from other folks, but we'll have a place to sleep and bathe. We can bathe? I'd almost forgotten Cliff was walking next to me. He's been unusually quiet since we left camp. Yep, there's a spring. Always lets the Jennies drink there. Finally, it's been so long. For once, I agree with him. Maybe we can find out more about whatever that thing was. I'd rather forget myself. There are many folks at this outpost? A fair amount. Is where I can read. Maybe I should try slower. Most of them are only passing through. It can get pretty rowdy, depending on the crowd. It ain't all bad. Plenty of music and dance when the mood strikes. The weasel hums, still bristling. It sounds like a wonderful place. Yiska, Tsia, or Sella, you boys coming too? Sella scratches at one of his big ears. I ain't got any better places to be. Suicide to walk all the way to the summit right now. Just don't expect me to start singing and dancing. I will join you as well. Now that's what I like to hear. The more the merrier. Also, here's a question. Where did he get that from? Isn't that a bear's claw right there or something? Or it could be a cat's claw. Now that I think of it, probably. It's like, where did he get that from? I mean, I guess there are animals, or feral animals in this universe. I'm starting to look forward to this too. Maybe I can start looking into where to head first if we do end up running. If there's travelers about, there's bound to be someone who knows the area. And if there isn't, I can at least wash up and get some rest. Maybe celebrate getting out of these fucking woods. I hope someone has whiskey. I could really use a drink. It's strange to see the desert again after so long. The only way I can tell this place apart from the wasteland right outside of Echo is by looking at the plants. There's more of them here. More colorful ones too. Girls back home would have liked these. Can't see any sign of settlement yet, but I do see what I suppose is the place we'll be resting for the night in the distance. A large camp with lots of tents, lit by a single bonfire They must be nearly thrice the size of the one in the Hugin. I can't make out people sitting around it very well, but I can hear their voices, carried by the wind. Seems like Avery and Jebediah were right. It's pretty crowded. Suppose the spring Jebediah mentioned is behind all those tents. Out of sight, hopefully. I need time to myself. Been a couple of days since I worked, and so much has happened. The urge kinda snuck up on me. To masturbate? Good thing these overalls are so baggy. As we draw near, a coyote huddled up close to the fire is the first to notice us. He reminds me of William, though with he's a fair bit less husky, but bulky. I can read. His brown shirt ragged and dirty, the result of a day's worth of travel clear to see. He shouts at us, a bottle in hand. I can smell the beer from here. Well, if it ain't old Jebediah. I look at the horse from the corner of my eye. This is a friend of yours? Wouldn't push it that far, buddy. I run into him on the trail every now and then, is all. He's good people. Don't let him scare you. He's all bark and no bite. Hey, Ed. The others around the campfire start looking to us as well. By the looks of their clothes, quite a few of them aren't from Echo, though they look far less ragged than we do. Also, I just want to say I increased the audio. Hopefully it isn't too bad, compared to me. I tried audio check. Ain't like you to come all this way without the girls. Girls? Oh, the donkeys. Molly crew you got there. We're on our way to the settlement. The coyote whistles. Settlement, eh? Quite a hike from Echo. Oh, where... The stoat glances at the ground, then back up again. Very aware. Well, it ain't so far now. Should be half a day's walk if you leave in the morning. Wouldn't recommend going that way right now. Folks say there's all sorts of monsters afoot. Silence follows. Ed's eyes follows Jebediah's to me. Ed. Who's Ed? Oh, maybe the guy we just met. He nearly drops the bottle, trying to pick his jaw up off the floor. You? Ain't I seen you at the hip before? Fuck. I can hear someone stammering from the group. As for me, my cheeks are on fire. I tend the bar there sometimes. The coyote nods excitedly. Right, that's what it was. Memory's getting a little spotty. Should have sworn you was one of the whores. A middle-aged bat lady with dark gray fur sitting behind him speaks up. Then maybe you should stop drinking. Hey, the night's still just getting started, and so am I. He seems to already have forgotten about the donkeys, or me, for that matter. Let me introduce myself. He clambers onto his feet, and already I'm not sure this fellow can stand much longer. Best thing I can say about this man is that he seems to have no shortage of confidence. Name's Edward Purcell. That's quite a mouthful, but most folks just call me Ed. I'm a trader from up north. Just as we're all taking in this guy's personality, Cliff steps forward, offering him a paw. My name's Clifford Tibbets, leader of this expedition. Ow! Ed grips Cliff's hand, damn near tearing his arm off while shaking it. Fancy tale for a fancy fella. Not sure I've ever seen a weasel in the wild before. Fancy title. I beg your pardon? I'm pretty sure we just found the guy who can out-talk even Cliff. The weasel retracts his paw and shakes it about as if it was bitten off by some sort of insect. The coyote appraises the rest of us. I can see why Issa and Sela would be here. But how'd you end up with the Briars boy And the doctor? It's quite a story. The coyote laughs. Its loud, booming, gravelly laugh, and several of his companions give him agitated looks. One to tell over a beer, I reckon. We can't say no to beer. To a beer. Can we, Isha? I would like one very much. A drink would be nice indeed. I'm rather parched. But I think I might take a long bath in the stream first. I think I'll sit at the fire for a good while. Got some things to think about. We can bathe later. I want to take a look at the spring too. Oh, starting the song again! It's a short walk from behind the trees and tents and trees. Can't miss it. Mind if I join you both then? I could use a wash myself. About time I saw this fox naked. But I think since we're kind of getting to a moment and we have a choice right here, that is a time to call it. So, please comment, guys, like comments, tell me what you like, dislike, tips, tricks, otherwise, if you like my YouTube and likes it grow, then please subscribe and check out the videos type of grow, and please remember to spay new animals to help control the pet population. I'm gonna post another video, I think it's Kimo Coliseum today, and gonna stir some curry that's slow cooking, and have a cup of tea. And until next time, let's play me, GamerWolfSix of the Smoke Room. Oh, right, and if you want to play this game, free on itch out, but if you want to support this game and or get the news version earlier, go to their Patreon, $3 a month. Anyways, I should probably also audio check, and until next time, let's play me, GamerWolfSix of Smoke Room. So thanks and see ya.